This is a very quick overview of how we can take strategy and cascade it down to the team and individual level. There's a more detailed video on this if you want to understand more of the mechanics. So, as a quick reminder, we start off with a strategy map. We've captured the core strategic objectives and their priorities for the coming year. This is the overall enterprise or corporate view of the organization. And from this view, we can add in KPIs for each of these strategic objectives. In fact, for any one of those objectives, we can drill in and see the data by month, look at trends, comparatives, and so forth. So that's the top-down view that we use to run at the enterprise level. So how do we take this down to the team and individuals? We use what we call the ontology. We list those strategic objectives down the left side of a sheet, and across the top we list the core processes for your part of the organization. So in this example, core processes or activities are things like sales and customer service, purchasing, R&D and product development, and so forth. Now, in theory, these activities, which your teams and individuals do, are done in aid of achieving these strategic objectives. So each team should be able to assess the impact of their process on the strategic goal. So in this case, sales and customer service says they have an impact of 5. They're critical to the success of objective F1, grow profitably. They have a moderate impact on balanced ecology, humanity, and business, and so forth. So this scale of 1 to 5 is done by the team as they express their contribution to strategic success. Now, the shading is colored by the number of strategy points, we'll call them, at play. So for example, in this cell, we have 5 times 5, or 25 strategy points, and that gives us a dark gray. Here we have 3 times 5, or 15. That gives us a light gray. Here we have 5 times 12, or 60. That gives us a black. So the blacks indicate the critical nodes. For the team that runs sales and customer service, it's clear what they have to be super good at in order to achieve this strategy. Now, obviously, if corporate changed the strategic priorities, I don't have to rescore the impact, but these shades will change. Let's say, for example, this 2 changed up to 13, and this 13 changed down to 2. Well, this would now become black. So this is how each team can identify where their contribution is and make sure they're aligned. Now, once they have that grant of authority, the team can, for themselves, figure out which strategic KPIs are most useful and available to show their contribution. So the team can self-report now based on the KPIs that they've identified. In fact, what it also allows us to do is determine where we have more critical processes for this particular strategy. And if I had one person that ran both these processes, I can begin to prioritize myself against those different value streams. In fact, we can take it a step further and add up how many strategy points each process earns. So if I add up 5 times 5 plus 3 times 5 and so forth, I get 351 strategy points for this process compared to, say, 188 for this process. So again, it's a way for the teams to identify where the value is in different processes at this point in time. Likewise, we can look horizontally, so we can find out which strategic objectives require more process support in order to be successful. I can even use this to sort out my natural teams at the horizontal level. So the vertical level, sorting out the natural team by process, is fairly natural, and that's how we currently set up teams. This horizontal one is somewhat different because this allows us to sort out cross-functional teams in aid of support. So many of our clients, when they set up self-directed work teams, actually set up the teams horizontally like this in order to achieve strategic objectives. Zappos is a good example of organizations which are set up horizontally as opposed to vertically. And the same thing, we can add up strategy points horizontally if we need to. Now, once the teams have identified their KPIs, we can add up the KPIs in conjunction with strategic importance and weighting to determine where the critical performance gaps are in the current organization. And from there, we can set up that new operating system. As we take a look at sort of the academics around self-directed work teams, what we know is required is the team needs to understand the vision, have clear direction, from there have defined expectations, clear accountability around those KPIs, leadership and employee trust, and finally a culture of coaching and mutual support. Now, we already have this at Scott Batter. Now, we use some slightly different words. So, in fact, instead of talking about defined expectations, at Scott Batter, we talk about responsibility as one of our values. Accountability, we call that our commitment. Leadership is actually what the Commonwealth does for us. And coaching is all about our teamwork. And if I overlay the framework of what we've done at Croatia, what we have, of course, is the overall vision. The direction comes from the local strategy map and the local weightings that allows us to establish the ontology that makes it clear about our responsibilities, whether I look at it vertically or horizontally. From there, I can clearly understand how we work together as a team and our commitment to the team, the drill down, and through the Commonwealth, we can see how we're working collectively as a team across all processes or across all strategic objectives. And finally, the ongoing management practices we have establish that teamwork. So this is a quick overview of how we can take the corporate level strategy, cascade it down to the business unit, down to the team, and down to the individual, and then allow the holistic organization, the Commonwealth, to see how they're performing to enable the right kind of self-directed team and teamwork that we're looking for. A longer video of this is also available that goes into some of the detailed mechanics.